Hello everyone. Good morning. Today we will see the next approach of theory. It is called as valence bond theory or simply VB theory. In the last session we were discussing the VSEPR theory, isn't it? Valence shell electron pair repulsion theory, where we come across with the geometry of certain molecules, but it was a failure because it cannot explain the it cannot theoretically explain the geometry of the molecules, and also for the polyatomic molecules it cannot explain the geometry as well. Only in some compounds or molecules it is able to get the geometry, but normally in most of the compounds it fails to explain the correct geometry by means of the VSEPR theory. So that is why a new theory come forward, that is called as the valence bond theory. This is also in relation with the valence electrons, but we will see how it works or how it goes. So the disadvantage of Lewis-Causel structure or the Lewis explanation, there are three main disadvantages. Actually, the Lewis structure was able to give the molecular structure of the compound, isn't it? Or you know how to write the structure of the compound, for example, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, etc., according to the octet theory. But the three limitations of Lewis theory was, the first one is, it fails to explain the formation of chemical bond. Because in nowhere in the Lewis-Causel explanation they gave the reason, they won't tell anything in relation with the chemical bond that is taking place. So that was one of the limitations. They only talked about the structure, that is a chemical bond. There also a bond is formed, but they gave more importance to that octet formation theory. Okay, so that was the first limitation of the Lewis structure, that is, it does not give an explanation for the formation of chemical bond. Definitely it gave the explanation for the formation of the molecular structure, but it doesn't give a true picture of how chemical bonds are formed by attraction or repulsion or whatever be that. It does not give any that type of explanation. Now the second disadvantage of Lewis is that it does not give an explanation for or it does not give any reason for the difference between the bond dissociation enthalpy and bond length of hydrogen and fluorine. What do you mean by that? Now you know what is bond dissociation enthalpy. Bond dissociation enthalpy means the enthalpy or the energy required to dissociate the bond, isn't it? When a hydrogen molecule is there, if you want to dissociate into in a gaseous state, if you want to dissociate into two hydrogen atoms, how many amount of energy is required? It is called as the bond dissociation enthalpy. But when you come across with the hydrogen or fluorine atom, F2 or H2, you know H2 and F2 both are covalent molecule. So the covalent bond is formed by sharing of that electron. But when bond dissociation enthalpy or bond length is considered, these two have a huge difference in bond enthalpy as well as bond length. Because the bond length of hydrogen, that is HH bond length is 74 picometer, whereas the fluorine bond length is 144 picometer. See, definitely the twice of the bond length in hydrogen, the fluorine bond length is there. So that Lewis concept cannot explain what is the reason behind these huge difference between these type of molecules having both are formed in a similar way. That is a covalent molecule or a covalent bond is there, but still one is having a smaller bond length or a smaller dissociation enthalpy, the other is having a huge difference, that is a greater bond dissociation enthalpy and a greater bond. So these type of things that Lewis cannot explain can be explained in the valence bond theory by means of a different orientation of this concept. Now the third difficulty or the disadvantage is Lewis does not give any idea of the shape of polyatomic molecules, isn't it? Even the VSEPR also does not give any full idea about the formation of the geometry of the molecule. He does not give any theoretical explanation. He said that there is a lone pair bond pair, the lone pair repulsion is greater than the lone pair bond pair repulsion, which is greater than the bond pair repulsion. Only that is taken into consideration. The VSEPR is explaining all about the geometry. Well, in some cases that thing is true. But in the case of polyatomic molecules, for example H2SO4 or HNO3, when it comes to the polyatomic molecules, the VSEPR at the same time the Lewis comes in failure. So, in order to account for all the disadvantages of these two approaches or the theory, a new theory is put forward, and that is called as the valence bond theory. Now we will see what is valence bond theory or what is the new theory based on. Okay. Now the new theory or the valence bond theory is based mainly on 4 or 5 things. Is mainly based on 4 or 5 things. One is, it mainly depends or it mainly concerned with atomic orbitals. Now going back to the last chapter, that is there you have studied about in quantum mechanics, you study about the atomic orbitals, px, py, pz. They are having a dumbbell shape, isn't it? Spherical shape, that is s orbital. Now what about the energies of this s, p, d, etc. So that also is taken into the consideration in which theory? The VB theory. So the VB theory is based on the knowledge of 4 or 5 things, and one is atomic orbitals. So mainly the VB theory is based on the concept of atomic orbitals. Second, if you talk about atomic orbitals, definitely what will come in it? Electronic configuration. So it is based also on the electronic configuration. Okay, so and then third is on the criteria of atomic orbital overlapping. Atomic orbital overlapping. That is overlapping of atomic orbital. So overlapping of atomic orbital. So third is the VB theory is based on the overlapping of or how the atomic orbitals are overlapped. You know, px, py, pz. Can the px orbital can overlap with py? Is it will that be a true bond formation? So all that clarifies our doubt through VB theory. And the fourth is overlapping of atomic orbital. Then the fourth is hybridization, a new term, hybridization. The hybridization of atomic orbital. And the fifth is principles of variation and superposition. What is it? Principles of variation and superposition. So, our valence bond theory are mainly based on all these 5 factors. That is atomic orbitals. You know, I don't want to elaborate on that, right? Atomic orbitals, you know what is atomic orbital. Psi. Then comes the electronic configuration. Then the overlapping of the atomic orbital. Then the hybridization. We will talk about more in hybridization in this valence bond. And the principles of variation and superposition. But we are not going into so much details in this valence bond theory, because that is when you go to higher classes you will have the principles of variation and superposition and all. Now we will just talk about how we can explain the geometry of a molecule through atomic orbitals, electronic configuration, overlapping and hybridization. Only a qualitative as well as you are not going into any mathematical approach like Schrodinger wave equation. We didn't study the Schrodinger equation, isn't it? So like that we are not going into any mathematical data. So we are just excluding this, and you come across only with the 4th concept. That is, this still hybridization we will see, and by making use of that we will know how the geometry of molecule comes as true. So these are the basic concepts in the valence bond theory. Okay. Now we will see a small example. That is, the simplest of the molecule is hydrogen molecule, right? we will see the formation of hydrogen molecule. We know that it is a covalent bond. It is meant by sharing. So how this covalent molecule is formed based on this valence bond theory. Okay. So first we will consider the formation of a hydrogen molecule. See, first the formation of a hydrogen molecule. You know how the hydrogen molecule is formed. When two hydrogen atoms come closer to each other, a hydrogen atom is formed. So we will see how it happens. So we know that we are taking two hydrogen atoms, that is here my hydrogen atom 1. I say this is first hydrogen atom and this is the second hydrogen atom. I call it as B. Okay. Now listen. In this hydrogen atom there is a nucleus where I named it as Na. That is a nucleus of A and here it is a nucleus of B, isn't it? Nucleus of B. Okay. Now since why I took hydrogen, there is only one electron. So it is easy for explaining how it happens. So here it is one electron. That is I wrote it as Ea. That is the electron of A or the electron of hydrogen atom 1 and this is the electron of hydrogen atom B. Correct? So this is the scenario. Now what happens? Now when these two hydrogen atoms come closer to each other, because then only what happens? Hydrogen molecule happens or sharing happens. Now how that sharing happens? Okay, so that explains here. So when these two atoms comes closer to each other, there must be four forces acting on it. See, there are four forces acting on it. Now what are these four forces? Two forces acting on it, four types. Two forces acting on it. They are, when two atoms are coming closer to each other, there can be one is attractive force and second is repulsive force. Correct. So two types of forces are acting in four ways. Correct. So two forces are acting, that is attractive force and repulsive force. Now when you say what about the attractive force or what happens in the attractive force or what all comes in the attractive force, you see the nucleus is plus, isn't it? And the electron is minus. So there can be a force of attraction between. So I am telling about the attractive force. Correct. Attractive force. So the nucleus of the A will attract the electron of the A. It is an attractive force, isn't it? And at the same time, the nucleus of the A can attract the electron of the B plus and minus. Isn't it? So the nucleus of the A attracts the electron of the B. Correct. At the same time, again attraction happens in the opposite way. That is, the nucleus of the B attract the electron of the B. Isn't it? The nucleus of the B attract the electron of the B. And also, the nucleus of B attracts the electron of A. Isn't it? So, wherever plus and minus is there, there is definitely an attraction. That's all. So there are four ways of attraction in this combination or in the formation of a hydrogen molecule. Okay. And what about the repulsion? Repulsion can be repulsion. Now this is attraction. Now when I say repulsion, what is a repulsion? A repulsion between two positive things, isn't it? That is the nucleus of the A repel with the nucleus of the B, isn't it? It is repulsion. And also the electron of the A repel with the electron of B. There are only two ways. Okay. So just repulsion. So there are maybe two types of forces coming in the picture. One is the attractive forces and second is the repulsive forces. Now you know, when a molecule is formed or whenever a molecule is formed, the attractive forces and the repulsive forces must be coincide or there must be a equal balance of that, isn't it? Okay. So now in the experimental studies, I am telling you, in the experiments based on these studies, it shows that when the two atoms are closer to each other, what will happen? When these two atoms are coming closer to each other, the new attractive forces and the new repulsive forces comes into being, isn't it? The new attractive forces in the term like the attractive between the nucleus and the electron and the nucleus and the electron of the other atom. So as it comes closer, new forces of attraction comes into action. And you say, the attractive forces, when it comes closer, it is shown that, experiments have proved that the attractive forces becomes greater than the repulsive forces. The attractive forces becomes greater than the repulsive forces. Okay. And then what happens? The potential energy will become lower and lower. You know, when potential energy or the energy becomes lower and lower, then it says that the molecule becomes stable. Correct. So you are getting the picture. When the two atoms comes closer to each other, experiment shows that the attractive force becomes greater than the repulsive force. And what happens? The potential energy, here we are talking about the potential energy. The potential energy shows minimum values. Then, so I will draw a graph relating to that. So when it comes closer, first it was at infinite distance. So there was no attraction and no repulsion. It was at infinite distance. So when it comes closer and closer, we say that the attractive force becomes greater than the repulsive force. Correct? Then the potential energy becomes lower and lower. So the energy is lower means the molecule is stable. So okay, the molecule can come again closer, isn't it? Now what happens? Now there comes a situation or a distance at which what happens? The attractive force is equal to or the repulsive force, or there is a balance between the attractive force and the repulsive force. You got it? And in that particular position, the potential energy will be the minimum. That means the molecule will be very stable at that particular position where the attractive force will be equal to the repulsive force. Correct? So when the hydrogen atom is at this distance, we say this infinite distance. Say infinite distance. When it come closer, attractive force is greater than the repulsive force. Then again it become closer. Then at such particular position, these two, what happens? Will get joined. Why? Because at this particular position, the attractive force is equal to or well balanced with the repulsive force. So then only a bond can happen. Now if you ask me what happens again if these come closer, what happens? Repulsion happens and the bond cannot happen. You got it? That is the difference. So if it comes at a particular distance where the attractive force is just balanced by the repulsive force, then the chemical bonding happens or sharing happens. After that, even if you come closer, make it closer the hydrogen atom, the repulsive force will become greater and no bond happens and it will get repelled. So no chemical bond happens. So at that particular point or the position or the distance, that is why we call that as the bond length, the minimum distance between the two atoms in a bonded situation. So that is the minimum distance by which a bond or chemical bond can happen. So that distance you call it as a bond length. So at that particular point, if it is again get attracted, the repulsion will be the possibility. So at that particular point where the attractive forces becomes equal to the repulsive forces, the potential energy will be the minimum and hence the molecule is stable. That means the hydrogen molecule is more stable. Why the reason? By the reason hydrogen molecule is more stable than hydrogen atom. So there the stability happens. Or if I want to have a graph on that, I will draw you a graph. So you are okay with this, right? Now in your book, textbook, it is given a diagram as attractive force and the repulsive force. It is nothing. That is, if it is nucleus A and if it is nucleus B, if it is electron A and if it is electron B, they are telling the new attractive forces is here, right? See, the new attractive forces they are giving as the nucleus of B and the electron of A. The older attractive force they are shown by the dotted lines, just for your listing. Okay, that is the nucleus of the electron A and the nucleus of the atom A and the already they have an attraction in the isolated hydrogen atom. The new bond they are making is what? That this is the here. So that is why they are showing this type of a diagram. Okay, and the repulsive force they are showing like it is repelling, that is EA and the EA and what is the repulsion? EA and EB, NA and NB. So this is the repulsion. Entirely they are repelling. So just go through the diagram to make you understand more clearly. Okay. Now I will give a graph. I will draw a graph. You have to draw this graph while writing the notes. Okay. That is the potential energy versus the internuclear distance. Very, very important graph. Okay. That is internuclear distance with the potential energy in kilojoule per mole. See, we have studied that the two hydrogen atoms are coming closer, isn't it? So when the two hydrogen atoms are coming closer, I will make a graphical representation like, see, here there are the two hydrogen atoms here. So we are assuming that it is at an infinite distance. It is an infinite distance, and also it is from an infinite distance, and also what happens? These two, there is no bond taking place in that. See, so you can draw like that. Then the two are coming closer at infinite distance. You can say that there no bond is taking place, isn't it? There no bond is taking place. They are coming there, coming closer. So the new attractive force and repulsive forces are taking. So here there is no attraction. Now what happens? When it comes again closer, when it again comes closer, the potential energy will be like that. So our graph is like, we will draw the graph like this. See, I can draw the graph like this, which means that when the internuclear distance R increases, that means internuclear distance means what? Two hydrogen atoms separating at a distance R. So if the R is at greater, the molecule is not happening. That is why it goes like that. So as the internuclear distance decreases, R decreases. See, this R is decreasing. See here. So here also the bonding is not happens. But here what happens? Here at this position, the two atoms comes closer, and here the covalent bond is happening. See, here the covalent bond is happening. That means the two molecules come closer to each other, in which, what is the criteria? In which here the repulsive force will be equal to the attractive force. So there is a repulsive force becomes equal to the attractive force. Okay. So then what happens? Then the minimum bond length here, that is the bond energy, is 475, I think, kilojoule. So if it is 0, so this I can say it as 0. See? 0 means then here the energy is 0. Okay. Now here, this is the minimum distance by which this molecule can come together and form a bond. Okay, so this is 475 kilojoule per mole, that is the bond energy to be minus, and this is the internuclear distance, and the bond length is 74 picometer. So this explains the formation of a hydrogen molecule. Okay, now you can see in the graph. Just go through the graph in your textbook and just draw it. And the distance between the minimum distance, so the bond length you can say it as 74 picometer, and the energy will be negative. That means what? It is stable. The energy minimum means, so this is the minimum energy. Here at this point, these two happens and the bond happens. So this is about the formation of a simplest molecule, that is hydrogen. Okay. Then now we can move into the next concept of this VB theory, that is the overlapping of orbitals. This is also an important concept. What do you mean by overlapping of orbitals? Now you have to visualize the orbitals what we have studied till now. That is S orbital, which is spherical in shape, P orbital, that is it is dumbbell in shape, which is having Px, Py and Pz. Both, all the three are degenerate. Degenerate means and same energy. We are not going into D. That is, you know there are 5 orbitals, dxy, dxz, dyz, dx square minus y square and dz square. Now our Our explanations are limited to S and P. Now we will see what does this VB theory tells us. regarding the orbitals or overlapping of orbitals. It is simple. It's a simple discussion. See, what do you mean by overlapping of orbitals? We know in the case of hydrogen atom, hydrogen molecule, on the formation of hydrogen molecule, what happens? Two atoms of hydrogen comes closer. Now, what about the hydrogen atom? It is having a oneness orbital, isn't it? You know that is why it is related to the electronic configuration. See, hydrogen atom, what is the configuration? 1s1, isn't it? 1s1. So, the spherical s orbital of one hydrogen atom and the second spherical hydrogen atom of the other, 1s and 1s, will come closer and it overlaps. What do you mean by overlaps? When the two orbitals comes, they will interpenetrate. Inter means between two, isn't it? This s orbital and this orbital. Or you can say merging. Or the best word is overlapping. So, since there is an overlapping between the orbitals, see, there is an overlapping between the s orbital of the first hydrogen atom and the s orbital of the second hydrogen atom, there is a chemical bond happening. And now how the chemical bond happening? In this overlapping, the pairing of electron occurs. See, that is the funda or the concept. See, that means now we are considering the overlapping. Okay, very interesting discussion. Overlapping of orbitals. Okay, now a simple thing I can take it as the hydrogen molecule itself. That is 1s orbital of the first hydrogen and 1s orbital of the second hydrogen. See. Now what happens? This will come closer and closer and at a certain distance, that is why we say it is 74 picometer the bond length. What happens? There is a interpenetration or intermerging, or this is called as in one word overlapping. See, this orbital overlaps with this orbital. Now at this point, what happens? The electrons will come there and it forms pairing. And how it will pair? If this electron will come with this, there is only one, right? One electron. So the spin of the electron is like this. Then in this it will have like opposite spin. Then only when it comes closer, it will form a bond. So at this position, what will be the spin? It will be like this. So one electron will have this spin and one electron will have this spin. Or I can draw like the spin will be on the opposite spins. Then only an electron pair. So overlapping. At the place of overlapping, what happens? Underline. Pairing of electron happens, and you know whenever the electron pairs, it pairs with the opposite spin in the valence shell. See, if this is the case, if two spins comes like this and join together, you can't have a bond. Definitely not. So, opposite spins comes into it, and then only it will be a true chemical bond. Correct? So, opposite spin comes. So, that is called as overlapping of orbitals. So, that is simple. Now, what is overlapping? The two atoms. For example, if you want a p orbital, see, if you want a p orbital, the two p orbitals comes, and here there is a overlapping, and there it forms a bond. Isn't it? With two spin opposite. So, just the merging, and you know, the strength of the covalent bond. When you talk about bond strength, you will say this molecule is more stronger than that molecule. So that depends upon the extent of overlapping. We will study later. The extent, how much extent to which that is overlapping. If it is overlapping to a greater extent, the bond or the covalent bond made between them is very strong. And if the extent is very low, it is a lower bond. We will see the sigma and pi. So this is the extent of overlap will say whether the covalent bond is strong or weak. That strong or the weak of a covalent bond depends on the overlapping or the pairing. How the extent of overlapping is done between the corresponding orbitals will tell you whether the covalent bond made between them is strong or weak. So that is just a simple discussion about this overlapping of atomic orbitals. Now you will get a picture. Now we are having a picture in your mind. Yes, the S and S will have an overlap, P and P will have an overlap. Whether S or P can have an overlap, that we will discuss later. Now the next we have discussing is, in your textbook, it is not of such importance, the directional properties of bond. Now what do you mean by this directional property of bond? Okay, this directional property of bond determines the geometry of the molecule. See, you know an orbital overlapping happens, correct? There must be a correct orbital overlapping, and also the bond should be directional. What do you mean by directional? It is very important. Directional, which means that not all these orbitals in whatever direction can have overlapping and have bond. No. There are certain specific criteria, or there are certain specific rules by which the directions play a very important role. That is why we say both the direction of the bond or the direction of the orbitals or the direction of the bond is also important with the geometry of the molecule. Very important. I will tell you why. That is why we say, for example, a methane, CH4. Why it has got a tetrahedral shape? Okay, we can explain that. Why it has got a tetrahedral. But why the bond angle in that CHC? See, in the case of a methane, if you say what is directional bond, I can say 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a tetrahedral shape. Definitely you can explain the shape of a molecule. But what is the importance of the direction of bond? Direction of bond means how the bond is getting directed at what angle. That's it. Okay. So that the CH, this bond is 109 degree 5 minutes. Correct? So why that happens? Only why that 109 degree 5 minutes or 109.5 degree is stable or it is there in this CH4 molecule. That accounts for the directional bond property. Okay. So you got that. Or ammonia. In ammonia, NH3, why the bond angle is 107 degree. Or in water, why it is 104. Even though it is tetrahedral, why the 104 degree comes. So all this depends also on the directional property of this bonds. So now you got an idea of what is. So only a certain direction of the bond, you can have that correct bonding. Not in all directions of the orbitals there can't be a bonding, well bonding. So that now we will study about the next, that is overlapping of atomic orbitals. Once more, overlapping of the atomic orbitals. Okay, now you are saying the atomic orbitals. So now we simply say it as AO, atomic orbitals, because molecular orbital is also there. There we say it as MO. So we will see in detail about this overlapping of the atomic orbitals, or in what all positions the orbitals can overlap. Okay, there are certain things or there are certain positions by which an orbital overlap comes. It comes under 3 sessions. That is, there can be a positive overlap, there can be a negative overlapping, and there can be a zero overlapping. See, there can be a positive overlap, there can be a negative overlap, or there can be a zero overlap. And you know, the negative overlap and the zero overlap, there won't be a correct bond formation because it is a negative and there is a zero. Only a positive overlap will come for the correct covalent bond or for correct pairing. That is why directional bonds are very, very important. Now we will see how this positive overlap happens. Okay. Now for example, you know p orbital has got 3, that is px, py and pz. Now if I take the axis this as pz, this as pz axis. Okay. Now an orbital overlap can happen in the p orbital. So you know this is the shape of the p orbital. Now when 2 p orbitals combine, overlapping happens. Now what happens here? This is the first, don't make confusion, and this is the second overlap. See? So this is, the axis is pz and this is pz orbital. See? Listen very carefully. This is the pz orbital. Now here in textbook it will be, come across with this plus and plus. Here it is minus and minus. This plus and minus have got no connection with the charge plus and minus. Listen very carefully. It is not a charge plus and plus or plus and minus will nullify. No. It is just the interference property, that is the wave property. See, if you draw a wave, this crest represents the plus and the minus represents the trough. That is all. There is no connection with the positive charge or negative charge. It only says that plus and plus will have a constructive interference. We will study in physics interference and all. So when plus and plus when come close together, then it will have a constructive interference, or these will have a positive overlap, and there a correct bond will be formed. That is the funda. Okay. So why? Because this is in the z axis, so it is happening by plus and plus. Minus and minus means also trough. Okay. That is a destructive interference. So here it is a constant. So this can happen. This is a positive overlap. Now if I want to tell me a negative overlap, I can say a crust and a trough makes a negative overlap. See, now you will be able to understand. If I say this is plus and this is minus, okay, this I can say it is a PZ, this I can say it is a negative overlap. Now you know how this overlap comes. Now you have an idea. Constructive interference will only make a positive overlap, whereas a destructive doesn't make a positive overlap. It will come in the negative overlap. So this is the difference between a positive overlap and a negative overlap. Or one more I will say, an SP overlap. This is a PP overlap, correct? This is a PP overlap. Oh, this won't happen. This is a PP overlap. Now I can say an SP overlap. See, I can have an SP overlap. That means a p orbital is overlapping with an s orbital. Now how it happens? See, I have a p orbital. I will take the reference as pz, right? Pz. This axis is pz. And an s orbital. S orbital, the beauty of s orbital is what? It can overlap from any position. Why? Because it is spherical in shape. But it is not like px, py or pz. Px, py or pz means it can only overlap in that direction. That is why directional bonds. In the x-axis, y-axis or in the z-axis. So this is a very good overlapping, that is P and S, SP overlap. See? And here what happens? This is positive and this is negative. In s orbital we can always have a positive. The probability for finding an electron is same in all the cases. So that is an SP. Okay. But now I told you this is PZ, right? PZ. So this is an s orbital. PZ is this axis. The inner axis is PZ. Now I will tell you one thing. You tell me, is this happens? Is this happens? Is this type of overlapping happens? See, this is a p orbital. This is an s orbital. Now, is this happens? No, isn't it? So this type of overlap we call it as zero overlap. You cannot have an overlap like this. Where is the overlapping? It is not there. So that is called as a zero overlap. That's an example of a zero overlap. Okay. And now we come to a negative overlap. One more thing. See. Hope you are able to understand, right? Now one more thing, a positive overlap. For example, see, this is a px molecule. Okay, px. pp overlapping once more. We have studied pz. Now we will take px. So this is px. That means this is x-axis. See, this is z, this is x, this is y. Just have a visualization of that. This is z. This is x. So I am drawing the px. Okay. Now I can have px overlapping like this. See, I can have a px overlapping like this. So this is an overlapping happens. So this is what? This is plus and plus. This is minus and minus. See, this overlapping can happen. This is a positive overlap. But here the negative overlapping, how I will show px. See, if it is in internuclear distance. If it is plus and minus, see, this is a negative overlap. You understood? This is a positive overlap because both the indifference, the constructive indifference is there. Here one is constructive and one is destructive. So this is a negative. It won't have a good bonding or overlapping. Here it is having a good bonding. So this is the overlapping of a px orbital. Okay. Now if we want to draw me py also I will draw. How py orbital I can draw? Py position is like this, right? Py. So this is the nucleus. I will draw like this, py. Correct? So two orbitals of the same. See? This is plus and plus, this is minus and minus. So this is py orbital. In this case, this is a positive overlapping. Now what about the negative overlapping? Negative overlapping will be first in this. If you draw, this is plus minus, this is minus plus. So this is a negative overlapping of py. You got it? Simple, no? If you know plus and plus will make a positive overlap, plus minus will make a negative overlap, and 0 will be something very different, that is a p and a in the internuclear axis, not a plane. Okay. So this is how the overlapping goes. So hope it is clear for you, the overlapping. Okay. So there can be a positive overlap. Okay. Now I can have a p orbital having a 0 overlap. Only a p orbital having a 0 overlap. See? If there is an overlap like this and an overlapping like this, see? Even if it is a plus plus and minus minus, the direction is different, isn't it? So this is also, you can say, sometimes it happens, no, it is rotating or it is making the bond. This is also having a 0 overlap because it is not coming closer. There is no chance of pairing the electrons. So that is, it is a 0 overlap. So these are the examples of positive overlap, negative overlap and a 0 overlap. Now we can just take an example, see whether the bond or directional bonds are coming fit into the geometry of the molecule, or is it getting fit in accordance with the direction of the bond. Or we will take a simple example. Hope this is clear, right? Overlapping, simple. Now we will see how methane molecule is formed. A simple molecule, and you know the bond angle is 109.5 degree. Whether according to the orbital overlapping, whether the methane has got a tetrahedral structure, whether this bond angle is in connection with the tetrahedral structure, we will see. Okay. Now, how this methane is formed? Listen. How this methane is formed? How the orbital overlapping happens in methane? You know carbon has got 6, so the electronic configuration is 1s2, 2s2 and 2p2, correct? The hydrogen atom is 1, that is 1s1. This is the electronic configuration. That is why in this valence bond theory, the electronic configuration also is important. Okay. Now what happens? You have 4 hydrogen atom and there must be 4 bond making. Listen, there must be 4 bond making in carbon atom. So what happens? Now if you draw the orbital diagram, the box diagram, see, this is the box diagram. This is 1s, 2s and 2p. You can omit this 1s. If you want, it is okay. That is 2 electron. Now you can only concentrate on the principal quantum number 2. That is 2s and 2p. P has got 3 orbitals. Now what happens? According to this, S2 and P2. Correct? P2. Correct. Now what happens? The carbon has to make 4 bond with 4 hydrogen atom, isn't it? There is only one is blank and the other 2 is unpaired. So in this way the bonding cannot happen. So this is, it is called as a ground state of carbon. See, the ground state of carbon. This carbon should get excited and form 4 electron, lone pair of electron. Then only bonding happens. Now how it will do? It will acquire the energy. It will acquire the energy acquire the energy. When bonding happens, see, when carbon forms bond with 4 hydrogen atom, when bond happens, the energy is released, isn't it? And that energy, and by that energy or using that energy, the carbon gets into an excited state. That means what? See, the carbon excited state means this electron will get transferred into the p orbital. That is called as excitation. See? Excitation. Carbon in the excited state. Excited. E-X-C-I-T. Excited state. That means by absorbing the energy, this electron gets into this electron. See, now there are 1, 2, 3 and 4. There is 4 electrons are there. Only 1. Now, from the 4 hydrogen atom, it will combine and form CH4 molecule. Correct? So, this is the excited state. Now, what happens? Carbon has got 1 s orbital and 3 p orbital. Listen very carefully. Now, you have 4 1s orbital. 4 1s orbital for hydrogen atom. And here, there is 2s, 1 2s orbital. Correct? 2s orbital. And 3 what? 3 p orbitals, isn't it? 3 p orbitals for carbon atom. Got it? 1 carbon, in carbon there is 2s, s orbital is 1 and 3 p orbitals are there. In hydrogen atom what happens? In hydrogen atom 4 1s orbitals is there. Now bonding, how it happens? The p orbital will overlap with the 1s orbital and form an overlapping one bond. Correct? The other is next p orbital will overlap with the 1s orbital of the oxygen atom spherical to form the other bond. Next is other p orbital overlap with the third 1s orbital of hydrogen atom to make the bond. So the 3 bonds are there. And remember, what about the angle between the 3 bonds? Px, Py and Pz. What is the angle between each bond? 90 degree. Isn't it? There are 3 p bonds, Px, Py and Pz. And the 3 bonds are overlapping with the 1s orbital of the hydrogen atom. So, according to that, each bond will be 90 degree. Definitely, see, this is a Py, this is Px and this is Pz. Now, in all these cases, what happens? A hydrogen atom is bonding. The overlapping is there. Now, what about the fourth one? The fourth overlapping is between the 2s orbital of the carbon and the 1s orbital of a hydrogen, which means it is spherical in shape. It is non-directional. It can overlap at any position, any bond. Nothing makes them from making the bond. So, in that case, what happens? The bond angle won't be 90 degree. Okay. So, in that case, the bond angle will be 90. So, the fourth orbital, it cannot be, where the bond is there cannot be ascertained by this orbital overlapping. See, that is a limitation of the orbital, atomic orbital overlapping. So, here the s and s bond will overlap. So, how that gets overlapped is not ascertained in this concept. So, what happens? There comes the confusion. Then if you take the bond angle, it should be 90 degree, but the actual bond angle is 109.4 degree. So, this is in contradiction with the true bond angle of the methane. If you talk about this orbital overlapping, the bond angle must have come 90 degree because the orbital overlapping is taking place at 90 degree and the SS orbital can take place at any undirectional. So, there comes the contradiction of the orbital overlapping in this valence bond theory. So, that is why we cannot explain the bond angle which is in relation or in the true bond angle with the orbital overlapping bond angle. Then, for this limitation, we have come the new concept, that is the hybridization. Now, through hybridization, we can have a clear-cut picture of what the geometry of the molecule is and how the bond angle comes at 109.5 degree in the case of methane. Very well explained by means of hybridization. So, the next session we will study the hybridization, and also we have to study the types of overlapping. two types when we will study the next section. So I will tell you, go through the textbook very thoroughly and make it very clear. So till then, thank you.